Today, I'm at the Tweetsie Trail here in Johnson City, Tennessee, and I thought it'd be really cool to use a couple of bikes, electric assist e-bikes, and ride the entire Tweetsie Trail and just see what lies along this beautiful trail. Some of it goes through urban Elizabethton, some of it goes through the more rural forested area here, and all of it is going to be very, very cool. Now, before I set off on our adventure, though, there is a really neat little local bike shop within, like, really short walking distance here of the trailhead. Behind me is a parking lot area. There's vehicles pulling in and out. So you can come here, park your vehicle, unload your bike, or simply walk the Tweetsie Trail. Now, it's 10 miles long, so if you wanted to walk all the way to the end and come all the way back, it's kind of a long walk. It's about 20 miles. So if you didn't want to walk and you wanted to bring your bike, but you don't have a bike, there's a bike shop right over here. So I want to go in there and check out and see what kind of things they have. And I also forgot my sunglasses, so maybe we'll get some of those too. So this is the front of Local Motion Bike Shop, which is literally just walking distance from the Tweetsie Trail. So if you don't have a bicycle or an e-bike and you're visiting the Tri-Cities area and you want to go ride a bike on the Tweetsie Trail, it is 10 miles, so it's a bit of a walk for most people. You could come here and check out some of their cool bikes. They do rentals, they do sales, they do all kinds of cool stuff, and I thought it would be neat to come in and check some stuff out, just to give them a little bit of promotion and to show you guys the really cool stuff they have here. So basically they specialize in high-end, mid to high-end range e-bikes. So they've got some rentals over here. These are their rental bikes, and then everything else here you can see would be for sale. So they've got your mountain bikes for, like, mountain biking and gravel roads. They've got more kind of street-oriented e-bikes here. They've got more e-bikes and all kinds of really, really cool stuff. So this is basically just a quick look at the inside here of the shop. You've got all kinds of accessories, gloves and saddlebags and all kinds of stuff. You've got even little bikes for kids, which is awesome. And you've got a wide assortment of helmets and safety equipment and lights and stuff like that. You've got water bottles, and actually those aren't water bottles, they're degreasers, but they've got water bottles here too. You've got pedals and all kinds of good essential bike equipment. Sunglasses, which I forgot mine today, so that's always great. They've even got ice creams and delicious snacks, and then I think all of this is like behind the scenes stuff, but as you can see, they have a very wide array of bikes. So if we just kind of slowly pan through the shop here, I have a tendency to kind of move this camera a little faster than I really should, because when I look around at things in real life, I look at things very quickly, but the camera doesn't like to do that. So we'll just kind of stand here and let you guys get a good idea of what the shop looks like. It's a pretty small shop, but it's packed full of really cool stuff, and they have all kinds of really neat things available. So I just thought I'd show you guys this and just kind of talk about the Local Motion Bike Shop. They've got all kinds of cool stuff here, so if you're visiting the area and you want to ride the Tweetsie Trail, again, they've got rentals, they've got sales, and they say that a lot of people who rent the bikes actually end up coming back and buying one because they love them so much. I'm tempted to rent one here today, but we did bring our own bikes to the trail today, so we will just use those, but perhaps at some other time we'll come back and rent one and see how good these are. Well, that bike shop was an awful lot of fun. The people there were great to talk to, and the products and stuff they had there was super cool. So again, behind me here is the Tweetsie Trail. We're about ready to set off on our adventure. But first, I wanted to show you something really cool that I didn't notice last time I was here. You have the original railroad, what's left of it. Because if you didn't see my previous video where I mentioned the Tweetsie Trail, this used to be a railroad. It used to be a railroad that connected Johnson City and much of eastern Tennessee and onwards up into the mountains, and it was a passenger train that would carry people to and from the various cities. And as you can see, it's pretty narrow gauge railroad. I can just put my feet on both sides of the railroad tracks here. This is how it originally would have been, and you would have had a railroad going here. But when that railroad was no longer needed, people decided that this is a cool pathway, and all the bridges for the railroad where the train would have gone over were still perfectly intact structurally. So they decided to, instead of knock it down and waste all the effort that went into building this, let's keep it useful for the citizens and turn it into a beautiful walking and bike path. So that is the Tweetsie Trail. That's a very, very brief history of the path, and now I think it's time to set off on our adventure. So starting off in the Tweetsie Trail is, of course, very beautiful. You can see the forest here. This is one of my favorite parts, and this is about as far as I had walked down the Tweetsie Trail. In the last video I did, I showed you guys all these beautiful rocks here. And this is about where I stopped, so we're going to continue on and hopefully do the entire Tweetsie Trail in today's video. It's going to be really cool. These rocks and these cliff faces are really, really impressive. There's water leaking down the hillside, which you'll commonly see around here. It's very cool in this forest here. It's absolutely beautiful. Going under a overpass. Let me tilt the camera up a little bit so we can see these bridges here we're going under. It's kind of cool. Isn't that neat? This is gorgeous. It's also a really, really nice day today. We've had some hot weather recently, but today is like the perfect weather to do this. And this is also such a great bike path. Like, I'm not even pedaling. This is all downhill. This is so nice. The other cool thing is there's benches all along the Tweetsie Trail. So at any moment, and look at the beautiful wildflowers behind the bench. There's a lot of effort that goes into keeping this trail nice and pretty and well maintained, and it clearly shows. We've got a little bridge here. This would have been one of the bridges that, of course, the train would have gone over, and there's like a little residential neighborhood in the street underneath the bridge. That's really cool. Some of these bridges actually will go over the main highway and roads and stuff, which is pretty exciting. Here we have one such bridge right here that's going to be going over a main thoroughfare. The bridge is made of wood, and you can hopefully see on the side that this is going over a beautiful... I mean, if a freeway can be beautiful, this would be a beautiful freeway. You can't see now because there's safety barriers. But hopefully you could see it on the left-hand side of the screen that the freeway was beautiful. It's pretty narrow. I'm just gonna... keep going here. So now we're off the freeway bridge, and we're able to keep continuing on here. This looks like it's mostly downhill, which is awesome. Some placards here. Let's see if they talk about anything interesting. Passenger service. So this would have been where the train would come along. I'm going to try to roll my bike up here so you guys can see this. And I've had people tell me that they enjoyed being able to see and read these signs. Now, the glare is a little bit annoying, so I'll read some of it for you here. The East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad, ET and WNC, was primarily constructed to provide freight service between Johnson City and the iron ore mines of Cranberry, North Carolina, but passenger and mail service became important also. And you can see some pictures like this one here of an interior view of an ET and WNC passenger car in the 1930s. Pretty cool. And then there's also some information over here about the narrow gauge railway, which I will back my bike up and drive over here and show you right here. And again, the glare, I'm sorry. But it talks about the narrow gauge railroad, and it actually talks about a train up here that derailed. I might pop my camera off and show this to you, because anybody out there who's a fan of railroads might find this interesting. So this railroad is one of the best known examples of a narrow gauge railroad. This term refers to the width between the steel rails. The rails on a standard gauge railroad are 4 feet 8.5 inches apart, as compared to 3 feet on the ET and WNC. So these narrow gauge tracks allow for a tighter radius and curves, use lighter equipment, and are cheaper to build and operate, and that's part of the reason why they used them in these mountain paths. And then over here, they're also talking about the music of the trails, and being a musician, I've got to stop and read this. Again, hopefully you guys can see some of this here. From the 1820s, when the first commercial railroads were developed in the U.S., railroads were built at... Okay, this isn't about music. Where's the music stuff? Here we go. Trains and railroad imagery figure prominently in countless songs across many musical genres, including gospel, blues, old-time country, bluegrass, folk, and rock and roll. Well-known railroad songs include The Ballad of John Henry, The Wreck of the Old 97, This Train is Bound for Glory, The Midnight Special, Life's Railway to Heaven, and The Wabash Cannonball. We've also got some landmark musicians with ties to Johnson City on this list here. It's pretty cool. You got Jimmy Rogers, Charles Bowman, who else? Al Hopkins. Pretty cool. So now we can just set off again on our adventure, hop back on the Tweetsie Trail, and get moving. One of my favorite songs that involves the railroad is The Silver Ghost. There's been a few different versions of it over the years, but it's a really hauntingly beautiful piece, and depending on who records it, there's different, kind of styles of it. But it's a really, really cool piece. If you like music about trains or kind of country folk bluegrass music, definitely look it up on YouTube. It's really great. Tells the story of a ghost train going through the mountains. Now this here is part of where the Tweetsie Trail, I'm having a hard time saying that today. The Tweetsie Trail goes through a street, just a little residential area. So it says to stop. There's no cars here, but the sign says stop, so we will stop. And now that we've stopped and confirmed there's no cars, we can continue going. Some beautiful fields and pastures. This is the first mile. We've gone 1 mile. And now we're in Carter County, apparently, which is awesome. So we've gone an entire mile and we're in a new county. There's some old sheds and stuff off down the side of the hill there. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can't. I'm past it. Another plaque over here talking about the Robertson home, site of the first court of Washington County, but we'll pass by that. It's really cool how there's just look at the farm over here. Can you see the farm up on the left? The barn, the fence, the pasture, right next to this beautiful walking path. How pretty is that? That's awesome. Oh, I just got hit in the chest with a bug. June bug. They're coming out this time of year. Here's another spot where the road will cross a, or the Tweetsie Trail crosses a road, and again, we'll stop. It doesn't, oh, there is a car coming this time, so we'll wait for them to go through. And then now there's no cars, so we'll continue on. My favorite sections of this trail are, so far, the forested sections like this. They're cool, almost cold in a way, but in a really good way, if you know what I mean. They're just really nice to ride through. Birds and wildlife and butterflies on the trail too. It's really nice. Now we've got a little uphill section, but what's cool is most of this trail is pretty much flat. Like, you've got some gentle uphill stuff here, but as far as I know, there is basically no, like, you know, there is no really crazy uphill stuff, which is good. Alright, so now we can just stop and check and keep on going because there's nothing happening here. Apparently horses are not allowed on the Tweetsie Trail. I like that they have to put that sign there like, no, do not take your horse here. This is not the Old Town Road. The other cool thing is that all the people you run into on the trail so far have been very friendly. Most of them will wave or smile or say hello. Look at this. This is beautiful. This has been my favorite section of the trail so far. Let me tilt the camera up so you can see more of the trees and the sky. Look at this. It's amazing. Absolutely beautiful. .8 miles. We're almost made it to 2. Almost at the 2-mile marker, so that's pretty cool. So we've gone 2 miles in 20 minutes, but that's how much time the camera is displaying, but I think there's been some stuff here we've edited out. For brevity's sake. Not so much of the path, but, you know, like before we got started, the camera was running for some time. So I don't think it's taken us 20 minutes to actually go these 2 miles. This is all downhill, so I don't even have to pedal. I can just sit here and enjoy the ride, which is lovely. Got another stop sign coming up, so we're going to be crossing another road. Let me know what your favorite parts of the Tweetsie Trail are that you like. So far, my favorite parts have been the forested area, and then also the part where it crossed over the freeway. The freeway was honestly kind of cool. It was cooler than it sounds like it should be. Here's Greenlee Road. We're gonna cross. It's kind of a neat little thing here, and then we can just and head on. Again, no horses. Got some beautiful homes over on the right. Hopefully you can see that. Well, it's a beautiful home. There's another stop. So we will stop here. I guess this is someone's driveway. You can see their home is up there. Like, that's awesome. Amazing. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know how many times I've said absolutely beautiful in this video. Someone will probably have a counter for it. More benches. .2 miles, so we've made it 2.2 miles. As you can see, it's been absolutely peaceful, totally beautiful. And really wonderful. There's a little fake general store over here. Look at this. Look at that. That's neat. There's more driveways. We'll just go over these. But that's so cool, though, that there's, like, just homes along this. It's really cool. I mean, you could think also that many years ago when the railroad used to run through here, that it probably wouldn't have been quite as cool for all these people. Of course, people like the railroad. Trains are cool. But, of course, trains are also noisy. And living next to a railroad isn't probably all that fun. So back when this was a railroad, might not have been so cool to live right next to it. But today, when it's a very quiet walking path and the loudest thing going down the path is going to be a bicycle, it's great. There's a little pond or some kind of flooded pasture on the left there. More homes and barns on the left as we're passing them. I love the view here up ahead. Look at this view straight ahead. Just looking out across the hills. It looks like there's a little stopping point. Maybe we can stop and take a look and see what the lookout is. It says Milligan Depot. And then I guess we can stop and take a look at the scenic views. And there's also some information. So let's pull in here and take a look at the views real quick. So here we have it. Here's the view. Pretty nice. Got some farms and pasture and all that. Then over here is a sign, a placard, talking about the Milligan Depot. And there's also a bench you can sit down here. Let me turn the camera in such a way that you all can see it nicely. You really can't, but hopefully somewhat. Here. Ugh. There we go. That's how we do it. Milligan Depot. And here's all the information about said Milligan Depot. Abandoned in 1934, but passenger service continued until 1940. Freight and mail rolled until 1950. So we've got some beautiful little scenic lookout spots, benches, places to sit down, all kinds of good stuff. Butterfly bushes. all kinds of good things. Mile marker 2.6, moving along. Hey. More forested areas again. I love these parts. Here's some big kind of another lookout spot we've got coming up here. I can see a roof and there's a bridge. Butterfly on the road. Oh, there's a lake or a creek or a river or some kind of body of water below this bridge. So here's one of the many scenic overlooks here. This was an old quarry, and there's some information here about it. First of all, it's dedicated to Ralph Brocklin, and you can read all about him on this plaque. But over here is going to be some historical information about what used to be here at this old mining quarry. The Cranberry Furnace Company Quarry. So in 1902, this is a very old sign. In 1902, the Cranberry Furnace Company opened this quarry to provide lime for the Johnson City Iron Foundry. And so there's also some more information here about the mine and the quarry. You got some geological information here about the shale and dolomite. All right, let's continue on our adventure here and cross this road and head off down the Tweetsie Trail. Some more forested areas here that I think will be beautiful to go through. On the right, you can hopefully see some lovely backyards, and they look like they once were pastures. I guess it's a school, actually, so maybe it wasn't a pasture, but it looks like a pasture. All the empty fields in eastern Tennessee are beautiful green. Absolutely lovely. There's more park benches and places to sit down and relax if you need to, which is really nice. Each one of them has a little placard on it, so I'm assuming each one is dedicated to a certain person who maybe installed it or was, notable in the community at one point, or is notable in the community currently. I just saw a cardinal fly up into the tree. Those are one of the prettiest birds around here. Off to the right, hopefully down off that way, you can see the stream on the right. Gets pretty wide over there. Maybe we'll cross it or run more closer to it. There's a path right here on the right that actually crosses the stream on a not actually that sketchy looking wooden pathway. When I saw it through the trees, it has this weird peak in the middle, I guess for structural integrity. And I thought it was all like janky, but actually it looked very nice. Now, I believe up here on the right, and it could be anything really, but I believe this plant here on the right that you're seeing climbing up all the trees is probably kudzu. I've never actually seen it up close like this before, but they call it, if this is kudzu, which based on the fact that it's climbing up the trees it most likely is, and the leaves look like the pictures I've seen of kudzu online, kudzu is what they call the vine that ate the South, and you can kind of see why it's called that, because it's literally swallowing up and eating the trees. Now, there's some good news and some bad news about kudzu. The good news is that it's actually beneficial in some ways as a food source for animals, for livestock and such. The bad news is that it's highly invasive, and it grows everywhere around here, and it covers parts of the forest. Now, one common misconception with kudzu is that it covers entire forests, and it actually doesn't. It will only cover the first row of trees in a forest. After that, there's not enough light in the forest for the kudzu to crawl across the ground and propagate deeper into the forest. So while from the edge of a forest it looks like the whole thing is covered, it's actually just the first row of trees, maybe two. Beyond that, the kudzu doesn't spread further into the forest. And it's actually an invasive species from Japan. It came from Japan, and the US government, I believe, introduced it in order to prevent erosion on hillsides. And it does a great job of preventing erosion, but it also grows a lot more than that. And here's a really cool little wooden bridge here we're crossing. I love these old wooden bridges. It's running over a stream. It's gorgeous, absolutely lovely. I like the sound the tires make on the wood, too. But that's the little story of kudzu. That's everything I could remember about it off the top of my head. It's an invasive vine from Japan that was introduced to prevent erosion on soil, and it just kind of became so much more than an erosion-preventing plant. The other good thing about it is that it doesn't propagate from leaves or from stem cuttings like a lot of vines tend to do. It only propagates, from my recollection, by runners or by splitting up the rhizomes. Which, so if you cut it back and you take the cut ends and drop them on the ground, they just die. They don't become new plants. So that's also good. That makes it a little bit easier to control. Anyway, that's enough information about kudzu. I think we're not even seeing any anymore. I just felt like talking about it because it's a really interesting thing. Of course, on the left here, as you've been seeing, there's a baseball field and stuff, which is really cool. We're at 4.2 miles now, so we're making some progress here. Now we're starting to get into some of the more urban areas of the Tweetsie Trail, which is where things start to get kind of interesting. We've seen some of the more rural, the farms, the forests, all that stuff. Now we're starting to get into more of the urban town areas. And like I mentioned, some of this trail goes right through downtown Elizabethton, and eventually we'll get there on this trip. We're not there yet, but we'll get there. Alright, now that we crossed the busy intersection, we can continue on our way. On the Tweetsie Trail. There's businesses that back right up to the Tweetsie Trail. You've got the Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center, you know. So this is kind of the cool thing about the Tweetsie Trail is you get a bit of a balance of both things. You get the beautiful rural countryside and forests, and then you also get this. You get the more exciting, action-packed urban side of the adventure. So it's all very cool. You get to see the homes and the businesses and companies and traffic, of course. So we're at the 4.6 mile marker now. I'll just keep you guys updated on that as we go along. Now, where does the trail go from here? Does it go straight across? Yeah, it goes straight across, behind where that semi-truck is. Push button to cross. Okay, can do. Boink. I did push the button, right? I heard it go beep boop. There we go. Boink. And we're back on the trail. We've got another little bridge to cross that goes over a lovely little stream. So we've basically made it to Elizabethton at this point, which is pretty awesome. You can see a lot of the urban stuff coming up here. This is going to be getting into the more like downtown area of Elizabethton. We will drive right through it at some point. Like literally right through the historic section of downtown, which I did a whole video on, if you're interested. Coming up here on the left is the Sycamore Shoals State Historic Park, which is something I'm definitely going to come back to and make a whole video about in the future. Hey. And that I think is going to be very cool. There's historic historic stuff, really. You've got log cabins, you've got history, and beautiful scenery. I forget how many acres it is, but it's either 7 or 9 acres of old pastures and fields and historic activities that have happened there in the past. But you can see what I mean, though, about the people here being so friendly. You know, you just pass some people by on bikes and they wave and say hello, even though I have no clue who they are. Like, it's awesome. So now we're getting into, as you can see, and as we've been in for the past few minutes here, we're in the urban section of Elizabethton now. You've got all the, modern amenities, Waffle House and Applebee's and the CVS and stuff like that. But it's still a really, really fun ride. We're at mile marker 6.2. And we're just here having a good time. It's great. Now what's kind of cool is up here we have what I believe to be, and I've seen this last time I came through Elizabethton, is I believe this little yellow building here once was a train station. Like a train depot for the old narrow gauge railroad that once used to be here. That's what I'm pretty sure this yellow building is. It's all boarded up and closed down, which is kind of unfortunate. You'd think they could open it up and turn it into like a little shop or something, but this trail doesn't seem to get that much traffic, so I guess it might not be that profitable. It's got a sign on the door that says hours of operation, so I guess it once used to be something else besides a train depot. Or maybe those were just the hours of operation for the train depot. Who knows? So coming up here is one of the strangest buildings in probably all of East Tennessee, if not the entire state. It's a very unusually shaped building that's kind of wedge-shaped and just unusual. Like, look at it. Can you see it? It's pretty odd, but yet it's quirky and it's kind of cool. Let me just stop here and turn and you can see what I mean. It's none of the walls are parallel. There's no 90-degree angles besides the roof and the wall. Like, it's unusual and strange, and yet it's really cool. So perhaps back in the day this would have had something to do with the train depot, or it was some business that would have been closely aligned with the train track. It's obviously an old building, so I'd have to imagine it once was something like that. Something to do with the train. Probably all of these buildings in here, all of these warehouses and things were once part of the railroad, or were businesses that would have, been heavily affected by, or influenced by, I should say, influenced by the railroad, things like that. Now we've got some interesting stuff coming up here. We've got some wind, too. Hopefully that's not an issue. We've got some interesting turns here. I don't know why they're here. But you've got to go over here, and then, like, why are these here? And there's no reason to stop here, so we'll just keep going. I don't know what the point of those are, but... Oh, a bug hit me in the face. Ow. You'd be surprised at how hard a beetle will hit you in the face when you're going... I mean, there's no speedometer on here, but I don't know how fast I'm going. Not that fast. And then a beetle will smack me in the face, and it'll be like, ow. It hurts more than you might expect. But despite the bugs hitting me in the face, I'm having a blast, honestly. It's been really, really fun. Even here in the urban area, if you saw on the right here, we've got fields, empty fields. It's awesome. And the butterflies frolicking around the pathway. And more forested area right here in Elizabethton. It's lovely. Doves. That dove doesn't know where it wants to go. You guys see that? It was just trying to fly around and figure out how to get around the structure. And it just couldn't. It was bobbing and weaving every which way. Alright, looks like there's no traffic here. So we'll just keep going. I've hardly run into anyone on this stretch of the trail, which is also kind of odd. Perhaps this section of the trail isn't as popular as the more forested section that we started off at in Johnson City. Or maybe people just don't go this far. Maybe people only get to the forested spot and then go, okay, I'm done. Let's go home. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's all because of these concrete blocks here. People don't like them. I don't know. I'm being silly. Alright, we're good. Now, this is something that's kind of cool. And when I went through Elizabethton last time, I was wondering this myself. Because I saw the Tweetsie Trail, and I saw these businesses. There's a place up here called Big John's, and they're like closeout, right? You can see the sign here, remodeling, new construction. And the Tweetsie Trail is part of their parking lot. It's hilarious. You've just got these lines here indicating, hey, here's the trail, and then you've got, you got the Big John's closeouts right here. And the Tweetsie Trail just goes right through their parking lot. And I wondered that the last time I came through here, and now I know the truth. We've got a church here on the right. And there's like some other buildings too. And then this here, if you remember our video from Elizabethton and the car show, this is downtown Elizabethton, right here on the left. If you make a left right here on the pathway, which I will angle you towards right now, this is your historic downtown section of Elizabethton. As you all may remember, this is the downtown area of Elizabethton. We've been here once before, but I'll come through once again and show it all on a street view with no car show happening. This is what it looks like on a normal day of the week. And it's a very yeah. It's a very rustic kind of downtown area. So a different restaurant? Yeah. There's the Tweetsie Treats. We've been there. All kinds of lovely little small shops here. And then you've got places like the Carter County Bank right here in downtown Elizabethton, which of course is in Carter County, which is why that's here. We've been told of a small hole-in-the-wall restaurant with really good food, but I don't know where it is. It's down some side street, so we can cruise through here and try to find it. Got the Linwood Beauty Shop, Big Dan's Barbecue. That sounds good. Over there. So you know that barbecue place that we just saw in Elizabethton? Well, we decided to stop there and get some food to go and eat it in the park while our bikes are charging up behind us here. They don't really need a charge, but we figured while we're here we can charge them up and then have extra boost to get back to Johnson City. So let's come over here and take a look at the food. First of all, I got drinks. I got Sprite. My dad got Diet Coke. In here we have a bag of French fries. I had one off camera. They are delicious. This is potato salad right over here, and then we've also got some little containers of barbecue sauce for dipping, and we've got some little tubs of coleslaw, I guess. And then inside of here is going to be the barbecue sandwich that we got. It's kind of small, but all of this was only $10, so it was pretty affordable. Reminds me of like a pulled pork kind of sandwich. Very hot, very, very hot. Wow, I'm surprised. And very cool. So that's what our lunch is going to be as we sit here and eat in the delicious... Why did I call the park delicious? I was going to say in the beautiful park, but I combined delicious and beautiful in one thing. But we're going to eat the hopefully delicious food in the beautiful park. That's what I meant to say. And then I will give you an update on how the food was afterwards, I guess. Some of you may know that Tennessee's nickname is the Volunteer State, and it's called the Volunteer State because historically and up until today, Tennessee has never had any military drafts. All military people who have been from Tennessee have been volunteered, and they voluntarily went into the military to serve their country. So as a result, Tennessee, especially here in Eastern Tennessee, but throughout all of the state, there's a massive amount of respect for the fallen warriors and veterans in all wars throughout all of time. And this obelisk here, which as you can see if I tilt the camera up is quite grand and quite big and awesome, is honoring all veterans of all wars. So let me show you this. I find this to be one of the coolest war memorials and veteran what's the word? Memorial. That's just the best word to use. I think this is one of the best, coolest memorials I've ever seen. It's awesome. I mean, how often do you get this like 70-foot tall obelisk in the middle of town square? Like, that's just amazing. And then over here you have some cannons. I don't know if they have any information about them. And since I'm not like a military weapons buff, I can't tell you much about these, but here you have a couple of decorative cannons, which are really neat decorations. So very beautiful memorial. And I just thought I'd show you guys this because it's a common theme here in Eastern Tennessee to honor the veterans of wars. Behind me here is something else that's really cool in Elizabethton, and these few things I'm showing you in this video are kind of little things I missed talking about in my last video I did of Elizabethton when I showed you the car show instead of all the neat buildings of Elizabethton. So this is the Carter County Courthouse. If we come over here and check it out, you can see it's absolutely beautiful. It's big, it's imposing, kind of like the obelisk, right? Big and impressive and honestly kind of pretty. The columns aren't as massive and huge as the courthouse in Jonesboro or in Greenville, but nonetheless, this courthouse is really cool. You have a courtyard. Is this why they're called courtyards? Because they're a yard in front of a court? Maybe I just learned something today. But nonetheless, you have this really cool courtyard here in the front with a flagpole, and it's just cool. It's really cool. Sadly, those doors are not for entry, so when you actually go to the courthouse for legal business, you don't get to walk in the cool glass double doors. But hey, it still looks cool. And then you've also got this little building here, which I don't know what that is, and there's no like historical monument sign stating what it's for. Maybe it was like the original courthouse. Maybe. I don't know. But you got this old building, and then you've also got this beautiful courthouse, which is neat. Perhaps this was the original jail, though, too. I hadn't actually thought of that. I know jails in small towns were pretty small and interesting, and often close to the courthouse, so perhaps it was the original jail. But speaking of jails, Let's go check out the modern one real quick. So we've just got done visiting the courthouse, as you saw, and our next stop is here. And if you're visiting the courthouse and it doesn't go well, your next stop might be here also. This is the Carter County Detention Center, and we've asked around, and it seems like detention center is simply a fancy word for jail. If any of you know any better, let me know, but here we are, the Carter County Detention Center. It's kind of cool. The wide angle lens is making that telephone pole look wacky, so let me step forwards here a little bit, and now everything looks more normal. Here it is. I mean, there's not really much to say. I'm not going to go inside, but here it is. It's kind of cool. I think it looks really neat. You've got the beautiful hills in the background, and then you've got a jail here. Like, I don't know. Jails aren't meant to be pretty, or detention centers, but if a detention center can be pretty, I'd say this one is. That's just my personal thoughts on it. I think it's kind of cool. So let's go now take a look at something else that is definitely beautiful here in Elizabethton, and that is the Doe River. So I sort of wanted to end off the video at one of my favorite things in Elizabethton, which of course you can see the covered bridge behind me. I covered that in my last video about Elizabethton, but what I really wanted to talk about more here today is the Doe River, which you can see behind me. It's absolutely beautiful. You can come here, dip your feet in the water. You can't walk up on the dam for obvious reasons, but you can come dip your feet in the water, probably go fishing in certain areas, feed the ducks, all that stuff. Just don't mind the giant branch in the middle of the river, but other than that, it's absolutely beautiful, and I love coming here simply just to sit at the water's edge and look out at the beautiful water and listen to the sound of the water rushing over this dam. Now, as I said, I'm kind of getting towards the end of the video here, and for any of you who have made it towards the end of the video, I wanted to just give you guys kind of an announcement of something that might be happening. Now, it might happen and it might not happen, so I'm not really going to say what might happen, but if it does happen, this secret thing, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be really, really awesome. It's going to turn over kind of a whole new leaf for the channel, and it's not going to replace anything we're doing with the bikes or with the 58 Morgan, which I'm sure is why everyone's subscribed to this channel. But it's going to be in addition to all of those things. So it's going to be really, really cool, and if it happens, I definitely hope you guys enjoy it, and if it doesn't happen now, today, it will happen sometime in the future. So I just wanted to let you guys know that there might be something cool coming out in the future with this channel, some cool new types of videos that will be really, really exciting. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have enjoyed this other new type of experiment with these e-bikes. Hope you liked it. Give me your thoughts. And of course, the Morgan will be featured more on the channel in the future, so stay tuned for awesome videos like that. If you enjoyed this video and you're new to my channel, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you do subscribe, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the road in the next video. Goodbye.